Hi, how's it going? I hope you're doing well today. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. It is New Year's Day today. I am not working, so praise the sun. I have actual light. And so happy New Year, happy holidays if you celebrate. I cannot believe it's 2026 as of today. And why yes, I did get this Gideon the Ninth t-shirt for Christmas. Thank you for asking. But let's backtrack for a minute and talk about December. In December, I read 5 books for a total of 1,579 pages. One of these is a decoy, so of course we know what to do with her. So these are the 4 books that I read physically, and one of them was an ebook that I got through my library, so that is not in the pile, of course. So if any of you are new here, how I do my monthly wrap-ups is I film it in parts, in batches, so that it's less overwhelming at the end of the month. So just like the Ghosts of Christmas Past, I'm going to take you back in time, and we're going to talk about the first book that I read in December. Hi, hello. So the first book that I read this month is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. You guys have seen this everywhere. It has blown up BookTube, BookTok. So many people that I align with in terms of our reading taste have loved this book, and so I was really excited to get into this series. By the way, it's a very long series. I think there's like 8 books maybe that are out already. And they get progressively bigger and bigger, minus the second one. This is a fantasy, sci-fi sort of book. The best way I can describe this book to you is basically it's a video game in a book. As someone who's a huge gamer, I resonated so much with this, and especially with the style of writing and the style of storytelling. That was actually a very nice kind of like 2-for-1 combo with this book, was that I felt like I was getting my video game satisfaction and my reading satisfaction from this. The premise of this is we're following our main character, Carl. It's the middle of the night and he goes outside in only a leather jacket, a pair of boxers, and his girlfriend's Crocs. And he is outside to try to bring his girlfriend's cat, Princess Donut, back inside because she jumped into a tree. She got scared by something. So she jumped out the window into this tree and he's outside when suddenly his apartment building gets squished, condensed like a soda can. This happens across the entire planet. Every building and anything that has a roof basically gets pulled down into the earth. He only survived, him and Donut, because they are outside. They weren't under anything. They were just hanging out by a tree. So he's standing there what the fuck just happened? When suddenly he starts hearing a announcer basically going in his head, I think. And it announces that this is going to be the start of a dungeon crawl, and everybody on Earth who did not get squished like a soda can is welcome to enter the dungeon. And basically they're going to go through this dungeon crawl competition to try to win back Earth's resources, I think. Turns out an alien organization has siphoned all of those materials that got squished because apparently Earth violated some mining agreement or something. I don't know. It's a little convoluted with the alien politicking things going on. Yeah, so basically any surviving human or creature otherwise, I suppose, can enter the dungeon and try to win back Earth's resources. And so they enter the dungeon, and if anybody is a gamer, then you're going to be familiar with some of the stuff that's going on in here, like tutorial guilds, where Carl and Donut end up entering this guild and talking with an NPC who tells them all about the game, shows them their inventory and their different items and how to equip things and the leveling system, and there's loot boxes they can open from getting achievements. The whole premise of the dungeon and this alien species that is televising, by the way, this competition, this dungeon crawl game. It's called Dungeon Crawler World, and there's sponsorships that you can get, and there's TV shows that can pull the players out of the dungeon and do a talk show with them, I guess. I've never read anything like this, and I think that especially for me who loves gaming, who loves D&D, who loves everything like that, this just was the perfect thing. It was just such a great experience to read. I was laughing so much. I was originally reading a digital loan of this, and then I was I think I'm gonna want to own this, and I think I'm gonna want to buy the second one on physical so that I can read it and tab it and all these things. There was only a few instances of dude bro humor that didn't really resonate with me, or things that I was oh yeah, a man wrote this. Those few moments aside, it was really solid. It was really fun. I think that Carl and Princess Donut are just so much fun to be with, and I cannot wait to see what adventures they get up to, what people they meet, what quests they go on, and what they're fighting. By the way, honestly, I think I'm going to increase my rating to 5 stars, because why am I giving it a 4.5? There's no reason. I'm gonna give it a 5. One of the best books I've read this month, so I'm very excited about it. Read Dungeon Crawler Carl. I know you've probably heard it recommended by 20,000 people online already. The next book that I read this month is something very on brand for December, very festive, and that is a Christmas romance. And the title is actually Holiday Romance by Catherine Walsh, which is the most generic romance title ever, but it was a good book, so I'm not really gonna complain about it. So Holiday Romance follows two people, I totally forgot their names. They are two people who are from Ireland and are both living in Chicago, and it's Christmas Eve, I believe, or a few days before Christmas, and they end up on the same flight together to get back to Ireland. Our female main character, her friend, cheated on that guy. If I remembered their names, that would help a lot. But yeah, so it's a little uncomfortable because she knows about the cheating. Like, her friend literally just told her. Our main character feels really, really bad and like wants to tell him. He ends up finding out, but like it's really awkward and kind of tense. So going from that uncomfortable kind of coincidence of them being on the same flight and having all of that come out, the next year, wouldn't you know it, they're on the same flight again. They are like actively avoiding each other this time. So then what would happen if the next year they're also on the same flight? You get the hint. Basically, this book spans like 10 years, I think, or something like that, of them having the same flight a few days before Christmas back to Ireland, and they always find each other in the same flight. And it follows their relationship, or their friendship basically, and how they start to warm up to each other, and how they become friends, how they become very close, them going through different phases in their life in terms of moving and job transitions and dating and all these different things. So yeah, it's a really cute story, and I did like seeing their friendship kind of bloom over time. I think that their chemistry was really great, and I liked their banter. I do love banter. I think the whole thing is obviously very cliche. I mean, it's a holiday romance. It's a Christmas romance. It's going to be cliche. And I do think that Holiday Romance has a sequel. Is it a sequel? I don't know if it's a sequel or if it's just in the same like universe, but it's called Snowed In. I don't know if that has any of the characters from Holiday Romance in it. I'll have to look and I'll put it on the screen somewhere. But I know Catherine Walsh also has Snowed In, which would honestly be maybe a good January read for me. I might read it anyway, or I can just save it for next Christmas. But yeah, I really liked this one. I think that the romance was really cute. There was like a couple misunderstanding, miscommunication tropes I didn't really like, but it wasn't, you know, that severe by far. And part of the reason why I didn't give it a little bit of a higher score is because I didn't really like the ending. And I obviously can't tell you why. It was fine. It was fine, but just for me, I would have liked things to go a slightly different direction. And so I did give it 4 stars. Sorry, I was looking at the whiteboard. It was a nice Christmassy experience. It wasn't anything super cringe. I did try to start another Christmas romance before that. I don't even remember which one it was, but it was just so cringe I could not do it. So that was Holiday Romance. So the next book that I read this month is Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. So this one is a historical sci-fi, I suppose. It involves time travel, so I guess that's where the sci-fi comes in. So this story follows our main character, Dana, who is living with her husband. They just moved into a new apartment. It is 1979, and they're unpacking in their new place when all of a sudden she starts to feel faint and dizzy and passes out. And when she wakes up, she is not in her apartment. She is on the bank of a river, and she sees in this river a boy drowning. And she just springs into action. She's confused as hell, but she springs into action. She saves this child from drowning. But before Dana can even really think about that, she passes out again, and she is back in 1979. And so she explains this to her husband, and he is like, well, I believe you because you were here, and then the next moment you were like over there somewhere. And she's kind of on edge the rest of the day until she again gets sent back in time and sees the same boy in a different life-threatening situation and once again saves him. And so now she's starting to kind of put pieces together and is like, is this boy involved? Why do I keep going back to him? It seems like he's older now, so how much time has passed between the first time I was sent here and the second time I was sent here? And she talks to the boy and figures out that this is not 1979. It's not even the same state that she was just in. She is in the antebellum South. I don't remember the exact year. Also, I lied. It's 1976. Turns out that this boy is the son of a plantation owner. So she is in the antebellum South as a black woman from 1976. And as you can imagine, it is not a good place for her to be. It is not safe. And as you can imagine, it's full of really dark themes. It's very heavy. There's a lot of, trigger warnings in here, obviously. And despite it being a really heavy read, it was a very, very good read. There were a lot of really strong themes, obviously around the concept of slavery, around freedom and independence and empowering yourself through education, and how access and accessibility to that education could mean life or death. And it does mean life or death in this. It really dives into dehumanization. It's extremely deep, and it's extremely, I can't think of the word, but it just kind of rips off all of the layers of history that make it look nice and shiny. At least for the depiction of white people in history, it rips off all of those layers and reveals the nasty, awful, dark core of it and the things that happened, the the ways that people were dehumanized and killed and tortured. If you're very sensitive, this might be tough to read, but I do think that you should read it anyway because it is very good. It's very evocative. I love our main character, Dana. I love a lot of the side characters in this that we get to know. I did give it 4 stars just because there were a few things that I wasn't really sure about. But yeah, so that is Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. The next book that I read this month is a short and sweet little one, and that is This Winter by Alice Oseman. This is a Heartstopper novella. I think it's only one of 2 Heartstopper novellas. I think this one takes place in between volume 4 and 5 of the manga of the graphic novel. I think that's where it takes place. But yeah, this is a Christmas wintry novella. This book just follows Nick and Charlie as they are going through the Christmas season with their families and navigating a lot of the uncomfortable topics or navigating some difficult family dynamics and how the experience of the Christmas season and of the holidays is not a positive experience for everybody. For many people, it's a really, really difficult time. And this book kind of gets into that, but I did find it to be a little bit vague, I suppose. It didn't really get as deep into some things as I was hoping it would. It was definitely written a little bit juvenile. I mean, I know that it's a teen series, but I do think that YA doesn't have to feel juvenile. I think that it can be handled really, really, really well and maturely. Like, for example, Raybearer by Jordan Afueco. I think that is a really great example of YA writing. And it does have illustrations that are cute, but I mean, like, look how big the text is and how much space there is in the margins and the line spacing. I feel like this could have just even been either a short story or it could have been a little bit longer. With it being so focused on families around the holidays, I was hoping we'd get a little bit more on family dynamics and just kind of seeing the interactions between some of the family members a little better. But it is still largely focused on Nick and Charlie because they are the romantic leads, so it makes sense. But it was okay. I probably won't keep this copy just because I got it on Pango for like $4. I don't think I'm gonna ever reread it. I don't really feel the need to keep it on like my Heartstopper shelf. What did I even rate this? I didn't write this one on the whiteboard because I just forgot about it. But I think I gave it a 3 or 3.5. Whatever is on the screen is what I gave it. But so that is This Winter. That is it for now. That is all the books I've read so far. I am working on one more, and by working on, I mean I'm literally like in the last 5 to 10 pages of Mockingjay right now. I will come back and talk to you about Mockingjay and any other books that I finished this month. So I will see you in the next clip. Hey, so I did in fact finish the last 5 to 10 pages of Mockingjay, believe it or not. So then the last book that I finished this month is Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. This is the 3rd book in the Hunger Games series. I'm sure you all know of her. I read Hunger Games and Catching Fire earlier this year, and I loved both of them. I read them all when I was a teenager, and I was kind of dreading Mockingjay because I remembered when I was a teenager I didn't love it. So I was kind of putting this one off because I wasn't sure if I was going to like it more than I did the first time or if I was going to hate it. Obviously, I can't talk too much about the premise of this because it is the 3rd in a series, but everybody who's familiar with the Hunger Games, you know the concept. But if you don't know about it, it's basically a dystopian set in a future reality of our world. And every year the Capitol hosts something called the Hunger Games, which is basically where a girl and a boy from every district are sent in. These tributes, as they're called, are sent to the Capitol and they enter into this competition where they have to kill each other and there's only one survivor remaining. So that's the Hunger Games. And throughout this series we follow a little bit of the rebellion and the revolution that is coming up because people obviously are not happy, they are massively oppressed. And so Mockingjay is just kind of the climax of all of that and the peak of unrest that's happening. So yeah, I mean, you guys probably know about it already. But yeah, that's like the absolute bare bones premise of this. There's a love triangle that's not really a triangle because the 2 boys aren't interested in each other. So it's more of a love angle. So I actually ended up liking this one more than I remembered liking it the first time. I think that I definitely didn't dislike it as much as I did before. There are some problems with it, of course, mainly pacing. I think that the first 2/3 of this book just feel very slow, and really it's only the last maybe 50 pages of the book that gets really more action-packed. And I think that compared to the pacing of the first 2 books, this one is definitely a little bit more of a drag to get through. It's also got the problem of having the least interesting setting of the 3 books because this one is set in District 13. You know, it's very utilitarian, it's very kind of drab, everything is gray, all the uniforms are gray. It's not like the most vibrant existence, of course, but these people are living underground and running a rebellion, basically, so it makes sense. I think that the aspect aspects of the behind the scenes of the revolution and how they were producing the propaganda and how they were organizing the different events and attacks that they were trying to do. I think that was interesting in that regard, but overall it was just a bit of a letdown in the first 2/3 because, you know, you're basically just stuck in these series of bunkers underground for the majority of the book. There are some times where they go out to different districts and there are some attacks and different things that happen. Those definitely bring up the pace a little bit, but then it just goes right back down to like a snail's pace. And I think that my biggest issue probably with this is the love angle, the romance. I just do not get the appeal of Gale as a love interest, and I don't think that he really is. I think that Katniss just kind of feels an obligatory attraction to him because of their whole childhood, growing up together, like first kiss and things like that or whatever. I think that it's more of an obligatory romance. And I think that especially given everything that happened across these books, they're just in such different places in their lives and have become vastly different people. There's nothing there of that kind of like childhood crush that was there before. He really just kind of has the vibe of like he's the default love interest because he's the only cute guy around. He really didn't need to be one of the love interests in this book. I really wish that they had just like let that go in one of the earlier books. And then when it comes to Peeta, this is a tough situation because we get very little time with him in this book because for the most part of it, he is doing something else in a different place. Katniss is seeing videos with him and things that are happening and hearing about what's going on with him, but they're not spending a lot of time together, obviously, for the first 2/3 of the book. And it's kind of mostly just Katniss pining, but I think it's really more that she's just pining for someone to care about her and to have that affectionate, comfortable kind of shoulder to cry on, soothe her nightmares and all these kinds of things that I don't think she actually is pining for the guy himself. And I just feel like her whole thing going back and forth between Gale and Peeta kind of embodies that because it doesn't seem like she actually is super invested in either of them. If anything, she's definitely more invested in Peeta, but I don't really think it's in a romantic way. It feels like it's in more of a platonic, trauma-bonded way. And there's also discussion around about whether or not Katniss should have been queer. Maybe she should have been lesbian or she should have been asexual, aromantic. And I think that that would have worked out a lot better. I think that her being asexual and aromantic makes a lot of sense when you look at her characterization, and I think that that would have been a really great representation to young people as well, because how often do you see a female lead in something like a dystopian that doesn't have any love interests? It feels like they're always shoehorned in because people like romance. Her being ace or aromantic would have been really nice to see, but I think she honestly totally could have had an enemies to lovers situation with Johanna. I think that that would have honestly been pretty fulfilling to see. I just wish it didn't feel like an obligation to have her be stuck with one of the male love interests. There are more options there, you know? So yeah, the pacing, the romance, and the ending was fine. I remember not liking the ending very much, but honestly, it was fine. But at the same time, feels uncharacteristic of her in a lot of ways. So it's a little bit of a conflicting kind of way to end the book. And I'm glad that I reread it, even though it wasn't my favorite of the series, definitely. Catching Fire is still the supreme Hunger Games book in my opinion, but this one was okay. And I did give it a 4-star. I don't know why I did actually. I think that I probably could have given it a 3.5. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give this a 3.5 actually. So yeah, I'm gonna drop it from a 4 to a 3.5 just because there were things that were fine in this, but overall I just think it was more of a slag to get through. Is it slag or slog? A slog to get through? Slag is a welding thing, isn't it? It was a slog to get through? Yeah, that sounds right. It was a slog. But yeah, so that's Mockingjay. And that is the last book that I read this month. It was definitely a slower reading month for me, but with the holidays and all the stress around that, like all of the planning in general that goes into the holidays, I just kind of felt a little bit burnt out on everything. I did start playing a couple new games, so I've been kind of putting more time into my gaming hobby rather than my reading hobby this month. I started playing Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar, which I think is a remake of an old Story of Seasons or old Harvest Moon game. I love the old Harvest Moon games and I love the Story of Seasons games, so I wanted to give this one a try, and so far I really like it. It's a little bit like lacking something, I think, but I'm still pretty early. I'm only in summer of year 1, so maybe they'll add more things. So I've been playing that one, and then I've also been playing Claire Obscure Expedition 33 because my fiance got that for me for Christmas, and it is so good. It is such a good game already. I haven't played that much. I think I'm like maybe 10, 12 hours in, but the beginning of the game, basically like up to to the first major cinematic, that whole section, and then in the cinematic itself, I cried. It was just so well done, so beautiful, so emotional, and I've continued to like it since then. I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, yapping about games aside, that was everything I read this month, and let me know in the comments down below what was your favorite book you read in December, or if you're not feeling chatty but you want to let me know that you were here, drop a snowflake or snowman in the comments below because it snowed today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment, and subscribe. It means a lot to me that you're here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.